Yes, I'd like to welcome everyone to the open board. The idea of us today is to celebrate 15 years of this wonderful organisation.
Okay, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Matthew Quinn, board member.
I'm Sam Smith, I'm the CEO. So we should also introduce our colleagues in Aberdeen and people we work for. Hello Aberdeen!
Yes.
A bit like the Eurovision Song Contest.
And don't forget to congratulate Andy Murray.
Gordon Reid. We should also congratulate Gordon Reid. The purpose of today's open board, we always have an open board. The last one we had was up in Aberdeen, but today is also the organisation's AGM. So we just thought we'd take the opportunity to celebrate some of the stories of change over the next hour. And so there's a number of people who will be speaking and presenting and sharing their stories with you. So thank you very much for coming along. I would also want to just say an absolute special thanks to Edward, who is up the back there, and Edward is the first person that Sea Change ever supported. So we're absolutely delighted to have Edward join us today. So I think without any further ado, you are going to introduce Francis?
Yes, the very first director, not the first director, she was the very first director of Inclusion Glasgow in 1996, 20 years old this year.
Not Francis, that's the organisation.
I'd like to and she's also a board member.
Obviously.
So I'd like to welcome Frances Brown to the stage.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to thank Sam for asking me to say a few words. I think that's one of the reasons is that obviously I'm a bit of an old relic. We're now 15 years into Sea Change, and as Matt said, Inclusion Glasgow is 20 years old this year. And I suppose we can't really talk about Sea Change without, first of all, talking about Inclusion Glasgow in some way, because Sea Change came from the DNA of Inclusion Glasgow, and so just to make sure that we give the people that we need to, I think, make sure that we respect, and that is Simon Duffy, who isn't here, but was the person who obviously initially set up Inclusion Glasgow, was the first director. I joined him very early on, within a few months of the organisation being set up, and basically the organisation was a blue car, I think, more than actually an organisation, and a couple of people that Simon had been asked to start to work with, a couple of families, a couple of people. At that point I joined him as the deputy director, and so my relationship obviously with Inclusion Glasgow was right at the beginning, and in that very early stages about, so why was Inclusion Glasgow there at all? Why did it come into being? And I suppose when I was thinking about this, I'll get worried about talking about these things at this point, because I always think there's so much to say, and on that it says 15 years of Sea Change, there's so much that you want to say about it, and kind of worry that you don't pay it justice really. But one of the things that I would say about Inclusion Glasgow was there was a few simple things probably that made it work, and why it was needed. One, there was really clear vision and really clear values at the heart of the organisation, and there was a real sense of dissatisfaction. I think those two things together, not just from Simon, who was the person probably running about, who was brave enough to say let's really do something different, but from other people who were working in health and in social care, people who were helping Lennox Castle closure programme proceed. So there's real dissatisfaction there with just doing the same things, just I suppose what you would have called at that time trans-institutionalising, you know, moving people from bigger institutions to smaller institutions, and a real sense that actually there was an opportunity there at that point where people were coming out of something which could have been for many people was a very painful experience and had been there for a long, long time, and a lot of the lives that they might have had been stripped away by the institution. There was a real opportunity to try and do something very different, and really at the heart of it was about helping people get a life. It was as simple as that. There was, I would say we really didn't know. It wouldn't have happened without those partnerships, so I think that's really important, people kind of coming together. Inclusion was so wacky at that point. We were saying we want to work one person at a time. We don't have a set formula, we're not going to fit people into anything. We were much clearer about what we wouldn't do than what we were going to do or how it would look, because we were working one person at a time. So that partnership working was really important, and I suppose one of the reasons I want to mention that was because that's one of the first places that we met Sam, really, as an organisation, was in that partnership, because Sam was a commissioner and worked in the hospital closure programme. So she was the person when you were sitting in all those sticky situations when people really didn't get what we were trying to do, and we were pulling our hair out, you'd be waiting on Sam turning up to talk some sense into people, basically. It's like, God, Sam, when is she going to come and help people realise that we can do this? That, you know, this person, for instance, it might even been at a point where folk were panicking about people getting out of hospital. I remember a lot of kind of work would be done beforehand, and then lots of panicking about people going out to live in their own homes, and a lot of disbelief that we could actually do it. A lot of people that we worked with at that point is Inclusion Glasgow, and I think this is also significant in terms of sea change, ended up being those people who wouldn't fit in to the services that would have been on offer. So they wouldn't go and live with 3, 4, 5, 6 other people. They were the freedom fighters. They were the people that, through their behaviour, were saying, I'm not happy really with what you're offering me, and I'm not going to be prepared to just fit into that. Sam also was a commissioner for most of those wards in the hospital where a lot of people had that kind of reputation. So she was involved very, very much from the beginning. We did not design Inclusion Glasgow to be like that. It wasn't something that we thought, this is what we're going to do, we're going to work with people who have that kind of reputation or that are but we ended up, because we were doing things so individually, so differently, so uniquely, and wrapping stuff around people and really paying attention to what made sense for them, and that's where it made sense that people came from, really. So those relationships started to build, I think, and the way that inclusion started to work built. And part of what Inclusion Glasgow was also about was about not just being for a few people. It was about a bigger picture, it was about a bigger movement, it was about this way of working being available for everybody, really. And I think we still believe that. Sea Change believes that. We still want to be part of that bigger picture. It's still massively part of what we're about as an organisation. So really what happened was, I think we became a bit of a victim of our own success in inclusion. We grew quite quickly, and we got to a point where we were being asked to continue to support more people, and we'd made quite clear decisions as an organisation that growing big at that point we thought would be the wrong thing to do, that we would get too far away from people and we wouldn't be able to do the work that we felt that we wanted to do in the right way. So we decided that we were going to we would find a different way of achieving that bigger change, and it wasn't about just growing big as an organisation. It wasn't about your ego as an organisation growing into something that was massive. It was about how can we nurture and develop other organisations to grow and do the same type of work. So there was something about, we called it spider plants, that growing the organisation from within, nurturing it till it was strong enough, and then separating it off. But we needed leadership. So it wasn't really very hard to kind of work out where to go at that point to find the leadership in Sam, because she really did live and breathe the values. She was completely headstrong, which is absolutely what you need. She was a maverick, which is absolutely what we needed. She's very, very bright and intellectual, but she was somebody who was still a doer, and I think that's unusual. And you know, it's something that is quite unique as well. So we actually went and asked Sam if she would be interested in, and we wouldn't probably went forward and develop Sea Change at all unless Sam was fully on board at that point. So it wasn't a kind of, we went and started thinking about Sea Change, but we had to work out that we had the right leadership, because right from the start it was going to be a separate organisation. It wasn't going to be part of inclusion. Leadership was really important. But Sea Change then was set up on the basis that it was part of the second phase of the Lennox Castle closure programme, and that those services were seen as being even more robust. So there's an acknowledgement really that a lot of people were coming out of Lennox Castle, and it needed to be a lot of partnership working, and that they really needed to think about how to do that in partnership and together. So a lot of it was much more explicit, I suppose, than it was with inclusion, that some of the people had challenges. And I think, when I think about that, and still when we do the work now, it's really interesting, because when we think about what we want to do for people, it's just about them getting a good life. It's just about them being citizens, having the same opportunities as you and I. But quite often when we start to work with people, when there's all of those issues and challenges around, that's the hardest thing to do at that point. We've got such a long journey sometimes to get through, and to get to the point where people can start to take up that role and just get a life. And when you set up an organisation, I suppose, with that label that says we are an organisation that works with people who challenge, there's a bit of a contradiction, isn't there, about kind of, because we don't want to hold people in those labels. We want people just to be people, just getting on with their lives and having the same opportunities as everybody else. So there's a real kind of contradiction. And I think what's happened over 15 years is the people have shown us how to do it. So they've worked out that we need to be there sometimes in a very different way when it's early on and people are challenging and they're struggling and they're hurt, because let's be honest, a lot of it is about that, and they don't trust, and we've got a lot of work to do sometimes to help get through that first period of time, to build up those relationships and to help people know that there's another way that you can have relationships with people, that there's real opportunities out there, and once we do that, then people get the opportunity to have a life. So I'm just going to finish by saying a few things about what I think Sea Change is. I think Sea Change is an organisation which is unique still. I think it has the DNA of Inclusion Glasgow, but having a DNA doesn't mean to say that you're the same organisation. And very, very clearly, because there was also Partners for Inclusion that grew about the same time, and all three organisations are very different organisations. There's very clear fundamental things that are similar and that link us at the heart of what we do, but how we've developed that and how we've used that and how we've grown as organisations, I think, are very different, and I think that was really important. I think Sea Change's behaviour matches its values, and I think that's something that is really important for any organisation that tries to do the work that we do. I think we hear a lot about verbalising values and people saying what they are, but I think the way to find out if organisations are true is to really look at how they behave and what they do every day. I think Sea Change is brave. I think it's a really brave organisation. I think it's an organisation that's by your side. I don't think it's ever been an organisation that thinks it's the most important thing in people's lives. I think it sits beside people, it walks alongside people. I think even when I think about Inclusion's relationship with Sea Change, it was a side by side. And I think that matches a bit about how people are supported by the staff who are committed to them and the organisation that's committed to them. It's that walking alongside, it's not thinking that you're the most important thing, it's about getting out of the way when you need to get out of the way and letting people go on with their lives. I think it's still breaking boundaries, and I think it's still influencing the big picture. And I think at the end of the day, it's really still about helping people get that life, and we're seeing that all the time. I think one of the things recently Simon, who always, I love the fact that Simon just always pops these things up every time you kind of come in contact with him again. He's doing some stuff with us recently. And he said to us all in the room, we were in an In Control event, he said to us, well actually, you know, you're all citizen enablers. That's what you are. And I think that's a really nice term. And I think that's how we would want to see ourselves as citizen enablers, really, as an organisation. So I want to congratulate Sea Change on their 15 years. I want to thank them for allowing me to be part of it for all this time. I'm really proud to still be at the heart of the organisation. I've had a lot of support as the Director of Inclusion over the years. It was a relationship that pulled and pushed, and I think that was a really healthy thing. So, you know, there's a bit of kind of, come on, you know, we're doing this. Right, okay, that sounds like, why? I need to find out why you're doing that, and vice versa. We shared a lot of resources over a long time, and I think there was a lot of learning, and I think we're bigger than the sum of our parts, if you know what I mean, together. And I think that's really important. It's still the same now in terms of making change in the bigger picture. We've got to remember that. We've got to keep building those bridges. We've got to keep working with other organisations. We've got to keep working together and remember that we're working in partnership, because we will not make the kind of change that we need to keep making without that. That's me.
Bring your tea with me. Thank you very much, Francis. And now would like to introduce JP. He's up the back there, who's going to speak to us a bit. JP is a director of Dates and Mates, and he'll tell us a bit about Dates and Mates and show us a bit of video footage too. Come on, JP. It's not getting out of the chorus. Come on. We're shadow puppets. I don't know for Aberdeen, but anyway.
Firstly, thanks so much for having us, folks. I'm John from Moffat. I'm one of three directors at Dates Mates Glasgow. There's myself, there's Michael, and there's also Holly. I think Holly's maybe out working the new PM. I'll tell you, I've been one of myself and Holly have been one of both the Dates Mates directors since it started in June 2000 and continue. Myself and Holly have been both the Glasgow directors since June 2008, and myself and to this day we're the only two that's left from the very start, which was a small team of 3. So it's came a long way in 8 years. We've had a lot of people come and go, but we're still the same old Dates and Mates, where people like. So with Mario and Holly's role, we are the face of Dates and Mates. We are the people. We are the directors who go out and do the like information stands, talks, even do the events and that. So it's been a good kind of way where, like, as I say, myself and Holly, we're the faces. Also along with Mike, we out there, and like people recognise us through Dates and Mates, like because they see our names on like promotional stuff or the odd newsletters and that. So it's a good way that we're involved every single day regarding Dates and Mates. Dates and Mates run by for people who are learning disabilities. So my members are the focus of Dates and Mates, not just in Glasgow, Aberdeen and also Renfrewshire. So like as Dates and Mates run by for people with learning disabilities. So it's open as like anyone. The members are part of Dates and Mates everyday life, because we've like in the past, even to this day, we've got like the Dates and Mates committee, the Dates and Mates advisory group, where we've got a couple of Dates and Mates members part on the panel and also the coffee cake committee, where the Dates Mates members are telling us what they want out of Dates Mates, which is like, so when we like take part in the coffee cake committee, we listen to our members, so it's like, that's why we're run by 4 people and displays. So the members are the focus of Dates Mates. Well, myself being one of the directors at Dates Mates, I've grown in confidence along the years that we've been going, because I only had like, I had a wee bunch of friends, but then when I became one of the director of Dates Mates, I grew in confidence because I knew that I was doing a job that I liked. So it's like, it's a get and go like job. It's a get and go job. You know, like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, you look at times, you see 7:30 in the morning, you're like, I'm the total opposite, like, because I know that I'm going to Dates Mates where we're providing a service where the folk can make new friends or old friends, make new connections, old connections, and also friendship and relationships along the way, where we are, it's a morale boosting kind of way for Dates Mates, because like it's a feel good kind of factor. So over the years, quite a lot of things happened. We've had we launched in June 2008. We've had 3 times we've been nominated. We've been a finalist in the Triple SC, which is the Scottish Social Services Council calculates in June 2011. What else?
Charity awards this year.
Yep. Oh, come back to that. October, we were nominated and 2 different awards, because we didn't find out about our nomination until, I think, was it you, Steph Murphy? He's part of this act called Pamela Bush, and Dates Mates, without our knowledge, were nominated in the Gay Icon Awards. So that was a good thing. Then we were the 25th year of the Sunday Meal Great Scott Awards. We were finalists in the lottery, the kind of national lottery category. And just at the beginning of June, myself and Cheryl went down to London as Dates Mates were nominated in the Charity Awards 2016. So that was a good nomination to be going all the way down to London and meet different organisations, different backgrounds, and even just finding out what each other does. So it was in the disability category where Dates Mates were the kind of finalist. And there's one that we're in the process of doing to the last 18, kind of 12 months or so, as Dates Mates have been working with LGBT Youth Scotland to do to put our names forward for a gold category in the charter map. So that's hopefully down the line, maybe possibly we'll have that one on the list. June 2015, the exact same 19th of June 2008, 19th of June 2015, Dates Mates launched in Glasgow, and Dates Mates Aberdeen launched roughly 7 years exactly to the date. Dates Mates Aberdeen launched. So that was we've just recently someone from Glasgow went up to Aberdeen to help Dates Mates Aberdeen celebrate their first birthday. And in January this year we launched Dates Mates Renfrewshire. which was a good way because with Glasgow, Aberdeen and also Renfrewshire is 3 different areas. You've got Glasgow and Aberdeen, 2 total different cities, although they're big cities, and also Renfrewshire. I mean, people come from, say, East Renfrewshire, Inverclyde, to come to Datesmates events in the Renfrewshire area, so it's a good way, it's a good variety. It's good how we've launched Datesmates in Aberdeen and also Renfrewshire, and hopefully down the line, possibly, kind of noodles are opening. And just before we put the promotional video in, or is it video or is it DVD?
Video.
I still call it video. I'm no. We did Datesmates went along to Scotland's biggest music festival, Tina Park. We had a stall at Tina Park, and we went there from Friday to Sunday night. Well, yeah, so we went up in the kind of Friday, Wednesday, to kind of set up. So we had like we had a photo booth, we had a Hug Me heart, and on the Sunday Datesmates Aberdeen went up. So to end my talk before just highlighting that Datesmates for Tina Valley, it's been a long 8 years, but it's been worth every single minute of the 8 years we've been going to Datesmates. So hopefully much more to come.
Yeah. Just to talk about the work of our fabulous colleagues up in Aberdeen. I'm talking on their behalf just because it's quite difficult to talk through Skype. We're kind of mastering the technology. I just want to kind of talk about the work that we've been doing up in Aberdeen, both the history of it and what's happened over the last 3 years, to honour the people we work for in Aberdeen and all of their hard work. Can we move on to the view slideshow?
Yeah, sorry.
Slideshow? From the beginning? Because I can't do it without it. Okay. We, as Francis said about Inclusion Glasgow, we had no real ambitions to be big. So what we're trying to do at the moment is be sustainable and also small and local. So when I'm describing what we've done in Aberdeen, we've got incredibly good leadership up in Aberdeen. And we've tried to ensure that the values and principles that we started within the organisation have flowed through the work we've done up there. Now, Martin, my colleague, I'm not sure if he's here, originally went up to do some consultancy work, and Matt assisted us with this consultancy work to work with some individuals who were living in units up there to help them move out. On the back of that, we were asked to submit for a tender for some work. I actually think we replied to the wrong one. However, on the back of that, we were offered the opportunity to work with a number of people. It was 12 people who were living in 2 places, individual flats, but 2 places in a service that was variously described as forensic, sub-forensic, or complex and challenging. In our tender submission, we said what we would do, which was we didn't really think it was working the way it was working, which is the local authority and health board knew that. That's why they'd gone out to tender. However, I think they were really courageous in selecting an organisation that wasn't up in Aberdeen, and they asked us to come and work there. Their senior commissioning person did meet with me afterwards and say, you have thought about the business case for this, you're not just an idealist. And we had, the board had. Certainly I don't make those decisions on my own. But anyway, it was a courageous decision on their part because it's required really good collaborative partnership working with the people that we work for, families, social work, health, housing. And so, I mean, I have to honour that. We couldn't have done it without any of those bits being in place. We started working. It was a bit of a shock when we realised we won the tender. It was Christmas Eve 2012, and we kind of went, oh, okay then, I'm going to have to work out how to do this. We started on the 1st of April 2013. You can move on. What we found when we kind of went up and met people was it was at best confusing. We didn't really know. We couldn't make sense of it. It was very expensive. People weren't happy. No one wanted to live where they were living. It was incredibly time consuming. I mean, lots and lots of multi-agency, lots of people very involved in trying to make this thing work that really wasn't working. We were unclear of the purpose because it seemed to be about controlling and managing people. And people talked about not having a good quality of life, really being pretty miserable. And the staff team, because we met with them and spoke with them, all seemed to be really a bit battered and bruised. And there were lots and lots and lots of meetings, and still it was really kind of fairly unhappy. So can we go to William's? William, if you're there, I've chopped down a bit of your video presentation from the open board meeting, with your permission, obviously. And William just speaks a bit about what it meant for him and what that change meant. It's a bit segmented, but so, thank you, Aberdeen, for letting us
share. Everybody, my name's Steph. As I said, my name's Steph. I work for Anthony Higgins, known as Tony. To most people, I'm known as Steph in the team because there was a few Stevens in the team at one point, and Tony's in the room just now with us, so you'll probably hear him more than anything else. But what it is, I was asked to come along and speak on his behalf to say the changes that Tony's experienced over his lifetime, and basically introduce some of his artwork as well that he's been doing. But first off, I want to talk about Tony, as in how he came about joining Sea Change and where he is now. The first thing I want to say is Tony wasn't born with learning disabilities or learning needs, as they were. They were the cause of an accident that happened to him when he was a baby. And from then on in, he was deemed as very challenging and very uncontrollable at times, which he shouldn't have been labelled with those titles at all, because everybody has challenging behaviour at some point in their life, and sometimes we all need a bit of support and help to get through these challenging times. And again, through no fault of his own, that's where we come to just now. But Tony, as a man that he is, was misunderstood, basically. He was institutionalised from a very, very, very early age, to the point of that he was institutionalised to have a bed and a side cabinet with belongings in plastic bags. 2 plastic bags was all that he had in his life. He didn't have a life. It was basically he existed in this institution, and it wasn't a happy time for him. He wouldn't settle. He made very few friends, and everything that he had, it was his. He made a possession of his. Anything that he could get went into plastic bags, and to this day, Tony still has issues with putting things into plastic bags. But Sea Change came along and changed Tony's world, basically. They gave Tony the opportunity to actually experience life outside of an institution, to have his own home where he can actually live and have things that belong to him. He doesn't have plastic bags that he has to have his underwear and his socks and his photos in. He's got them, they're out on display, he has them in drawers, he has his own possessions, his TV, and he has his own team as well that he chose, because through the support of Sea Change, he was allowed to be part of the process of employing the people that work for him. And he was the one that said whether he was going to have these people in his life or not. And from then on, he's had a really stable team. There's myself, Kevin Cantony, John Steedman, who have been with him for quite a few years now. Myself personally, I've been with Tony for 8, and he's a big part of my life. He is a part of my family. He's been to all the celebrations that we ever take part in. Christmas, New Year, my son's christenings, confirmations, and their communions. He's been to them all. And he is one of the family. He's an extended part of the family. He's not just, you know, basically someone that employs me to look after him. And when I say look after him, that's not the case, because Tony knows his own mind, and if he doesn't want to do something, he'll tell you that he doesn't want to do something. If he wants to do something, then we encourage him to do it. One of the main things that we encourage Tony to do is his artwork, but that's not just Tony. Tony also has other things. He's very, very sociable, and it's a side that is sometimes neglected because of his past. People still see him as a big, aggressive bear of a guy, and he's not. He's such a gentle giant, and that's the side that I want to promote with Tony, because a lot of people just see him as hiya, and barging into a room, and that's not what Tony is, because you can have conversations with Tony. And of recent, we're seeing more sides to Tony because of a change in the circumstances and a change in the way that he's been looked after in his medication. We're actually seeing Tony become more alert to things, and he's actually able to communicate a bit more in the things that he wants to do. His art is a big part of it, but he also goes to things like dates and mates. He goes to the Gesh, where he's very sociable. He likes to be in there and say hello to everybody. If we could just go around the room and he would actually introduce himself and say, "Hi, this is Tony," and that's what you would get, because it is, and that big smile would be there, always on his face. But I'm here really to promote Tony and the community that he lives in, because Tony has good relationships with all his people that are around him and his surroundings, his neighbours. The people that live around about him all know Tony, all know exactly who Tony is. The shops that we go to Iceland, and we have our shopping delivered by the driver, and Tony will help the driver in with all the shopping. When we go and pick his shopping, Tony knows exactly what he wants, and then he'll get to the cash desk and he'll pay for his own shopping, whereas before he was never given those opportunities. And Sea Change have allowed that by basically saying to it's you and Tony, now enjoy it. But the one thing about Tony that's probably the biggest thing is his artwork. Tony goes to a thing called Project Ability in Glasgow, and since going to that, Tony has found a world of his own. When he goes in, he goes and he sits and he'll paint, and he goes into his own wee world, his own imagination. He's there and he's painting away, and nobody else is interrupting him. He can do his own thing and enjoys it. It's one of the things that you can see that he enjoys. We've got a card that's celebrating Tony and used for the celebration of 15 years of basically Sea Change. Sea Change have chosen Tony's artwork to celebrate part of that. But the one thing that I will say about Tony is that he never was given a chance, and Sea Change has given that chance to move on and actually be part of the community. It was deemed that he would never fit in, and Tony does. He fits in very, very well. And that's all I'd like to say about Tony.
I just, Steph mentioned it, but I just want to give everyone the opportunity when you're leaving. Just we've got these packs of cards, and it's part of our 15-year celebration. We believe that every day we have things that we should be grateful and thankful for, and we've used Tony's cards to take the time to share our thanks. So please join us in using these cards to give thanks to those who make a difference to you. Now that could be anybody. That can be someone in your community, a local shop that makes an extra special effort with their displays, which is one of the ones I'm going to use it for. And if you'd like to share your photos and stories of those that you've given thanks to, we would really appreciate it, and we'll share those on our website, or we'll anonymise them if that you prefer that. So we've given you an email address on the packs. So I'll maybe just take the opportunity to kind of hand, or maybe someone else could to hand some of these out to people who've taken the time to come. If someone would share them. We've just, I think the final thing we wanted to do was thank our volunteers who take the time to work with us in the organisation. We have extraordinary volunteers who do all sorts of things. And these are some of our fabulous volunteers. And then I just want to show you a little bit of artwork, which is our prototype annual report, which one of our fabulous volunteers, Gary, has produced for us, or he's in the process of producing. So it's both a thanks to all of our volunteers, but specifically to Gary around the annual report. And then Matt and I will just take the opportunity to thank everyone for coming.
Yes, the photo coverage.
Yeah, the first collage will go up and
Was that already up?
it will go up, and we'll just thank everyone for coming.
Yes,
And
I want to thank everybody for coming along today.
And we hope it's given you a wee indication of the work we do if you weren't aware of it, or the opportunity to thank you if you have been working with us. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Aberdeen.
Is the AGM going to be open?